You got the puppies in the
That's what I heard. He was telling us all about it.
What?
David's puppies.
Play by play.
Tammy told me.
Kenny was fixing that lattice and they went out to Kenny and that's now their zone. And they're, I think that they're not moving because
I didn't realize the ceiling was
like
low.
Kenny felt that.
Darren, me and Darren had sore heads.
I've got some scars to prove it.
I hadn't even thought about it.
Call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody for coming tonight. Join us in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Updates. Police chief.
We met with Megan Kleiman today over the UTV, ATV things. And, we'll be sending everybody an email, about some of our options, different options we could pursue. So if anybody has anything they prefer, let us know. I'm going to be out of town on vacation next week and Zach will be around though to answer any questions and be in charge.
Fire chief.
Met with Andy today, and we started working on our budget, so I'll start penciling stuff in for that. Gonna start working on getting stuff ready for the classroom remodel. We're planning on shooting like sometime in January, so I wanna start getting some numbers together so I can bring before the city council and get approval before we move, all that stuff. The game plan is January, we're gonna solicit some help from the two 4-H clubs that meet at the building to help package and move stuff. Maybe some of the older kids help with some of the staining and painting. Try to get as much of the community involved to help reduce our costs.
Main Street.
Some of you were here. Robin Boston from Main Street, Iowa was just here giving us the final strategies for this project, or the market studies and strategies we started back in August. And I gave you all a copy of the final report, and those will be the strategies that we'll be working on the next few years of what the surveys told us and what Main Street, Iowa and the business development and economic development divisions have come up with as far as strategies for us to work on for the next few years. And so I'll be, as we start working on this to the Main Street, we'll be sharing them with you and looking for some feedback.
They did a nice job. Very useful.
I can also get that digitally, so if some of you would prefer to have it that way, I can do that as well.
We might ought to get it digitally and put it on the city website.
Perfect, yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
That's it.
No DCDC.
Public comments. New business. Approve route for the Ugly Sweater 5K scheduled for Saturday, December 7th from 10 to 11.
Yeah, I provided a copy of the route to all of you. It's a little different from what we used for the Hairy Nation Day 5K, because I wasn't sure on Jefferson if all of that would be taken care of. So we kind of jog a little more west and then down and then over to come back up before finishing downtown. The one thing that I didn't have on here, I don't know if you guys can consider it tonight or if I'll have to bring it back. We are going to be using chip timing this year. And so we're going to have mats down at the start finish line on Franklin. So we'll need to have that closed for at least that morning. I don't know if we'll have to bring.
Give it the chief,
Okay.
probably. That's normally how they do that.
Yeah, what's chip timing?
Chip timing, they'll just have a chip that gets put on their shoe. And so that way we don't have to have timers. As they come across the mats, it'll record their time. So we have an accurate time and.
They just have to lay that.
Technology, Sean.
We'll get real time results.
If it matters, Jefferson will be done,
Okay,
if that matters.
okay. This works too. And actually there was, by doing this, we get off one of the streets where we've had an issue with dogs in the past. So that'll be helpful for the runners too, I think. So as long as you guys are okay with this.
I'm gonna be on Madison, I hear there's some couple of real aggressive dogs in Madison now.
They have an invisible fence now, we're good.
Everybody cool with the map?
Everything's cool with the mat.
Motion to approve the map.
Move to approve the mat and the route.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved contract with Area 15 RPC to administer the Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan.
I don't know if you have anything on that, but as you'll note in the staff summary, the resolution would authorize Area 15 Regional Planning to provide administrative services in administering the grant, the State Revolving Loan Fund, specific to the wastewater treatment plant improvements. And I've had rather extensive conversations, pardon me, with Holly Berg, the senior planner at Area 15. This is something they would be willing to assume and take on. The other item I would like to note, the cost of this, should council decide to authorize administration through Area 15, that's enfolded into the loan. That would not be an additional expense to us. I won't read through all the other items listed, Mayor, but you'll see in the discussion part, I listed some of the reasons that we're undertaking this project, not the least of which is we're meeting some more stringent requirements through EPA specific to compliance. But it's something from a staff recommendation we're recommending in any way that council authorize us to employ Area 15.
So the administration cost for this is included in the.
That's correct.
In the loan.
It's an $8.6 million project, but you're correct, Mayor. It is included in the loan, so additional expense.
We just have to, we just need a motion to approve the resolution and a voice vote. Do it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jack,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Approved pay voucher 11/21/19 from Bloomfield Bridge and Culvert for work completed on the East Street Bridge project in the amount of $84,548.06.
Move to approve the payment of $84,548.06.
Second.
I'll abstain.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved change order number 1 from Bloomfield Bridge and Culvert for work on the East Street Bridge project in the amount of $12,455.21.
I'll speak to this. It was on the original estimate when we started this about the north approach. We didn't, okay it at first, because we didn't know what the weather was gonna be like. I've got a price for it, and right now I'm gonna pour the bridge deck Monday, and my street guy can pour the street Tuesday. Weather's suitable, and the class 20 in Ryan's haste get the bridge plans out. He forgot about the class 20 is the amount of dirt you have to dig out to lengthen the bridge out. And the 24-inch RCP is a concrete pipe. The storm sewer drains that come out on the northeast corner of the bridge is sitting back behind the back wall now, and it needs filled in. And in order to lengthen it out enough, it needs 24 feet. We'll take the apron section off, add 24 feet of pipe and put it back on. And that is the cost for the pipe and laying it. And the roadstone on where we come off the bridge, on the south end of the bridge, there's gonna be an elevation difference. So we want to peel off about 50 feet of the asphalt and taper it off with roadstone from the bridge. And that's an estimate of how many tons of gravel it'll take. And Ryan has endorsed all these changes in here.
We could do that. You could pour that on the opposite end also, but if we do something with that street, before long, you just kind of tear it back out. Now, I guess that all depends on how soon you plan on doing something with that street. But,
And I'm not sure we know that.
yeah, I mean, but, so the $6,400 basically, you just double that if you did the cement on the other side. I say we do this much. So maybe wait till spring if we can get a better idea on what our street program's gonna be and see how long we're gonna wait on that. We might wanna do something with it then.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order for $12,455.21. Bloomfield, Culvert.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There is, I forgot to mention this, in the pay voucher before, there is gonna be some savings there. The special backfill had been approved for $8,000 and we are, actually I am completed with the special backfill and it's, right now it was sitting at about $4,000 and it will be $500 more probably. So there's some savings coming yet from, like I told you before, in section B of some of the items. There was also $1,000 savings in signing and some other stuff. But yes, it is ready to pour. We're gonna pour Monday, so if anyone wants to come out and see it's poured or Monday, more than welcome.
Approved payment to Tim Skinner Trucking and Excavation LLC, amount $11,260 for the demolition of 207 West Franklin.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Better lot choked nice.
It does,
Just wish the garage.
I wish that garage in that other shed was gone. And I think we talked to Andy about that, I don't know, but that's something to think about. I mean, it would really look cleaned up and nice if that was gone.
And Mayor, he indicated a willingness to remove that, but we didn't discuss prices or anything, so if that's something council's in favor of. Merely a matter of me making contact with him and seeing if he wants to do that still. If you all still want that.
I mean, I'd get a price for it
Right.
and see, I mean, we can make the decision on that there then, but,
I'll touch bases with.
Way I've been driving lately, I could probably just back my truck up somewhere near the vicinity of that probably bullshit.
on that note.
On that note, please.
Well, no, but there was somebody that was interested in that garage to come and, so there might be a deal there where we could get rid of it at no cost if they want to just come and take it, or come and get it too. I'll call that guy and talk to him.
Right, because the only other one I remember, Mayor, the initial structure on Franklin Street is, visited with Danny Simonson at the time, there was discussion about whether or not to keep that, maintain it on site, and visiting with Tim on site, he said it really isn't worth the candle to keep it. So that's-
I don't think they're structurally sound, but. Consider and discuss nuisance properties.
Okay, so I sent out the letters to the 3 different property addresses that the city asked me to do. The only one that I received a response on is the property address.
209 Northeast Street.
Yes, 209 Northeast Street. The people that own that address asked for an extension of time with which to get the work done to fix the property up so it's not a nuisance in the derelict building. So I don't know how I guess we can just start off with that one since you'll know that's the only one that responded. So the options for the city at this time would be, technically the city could go in and clean it up if they wanted. My recommendations, would always be to at least go through the court system, get a court order so it's very clean, so that there's no issue with having received an order. If you wanna start the case and then give him, to be honest with you, court takes a little while, so you would have somewhat of an extension anyway. So if the city wanted to move forward with the legal action, then I could start that process,
I'm always in favor
Tomorrow.
of getting the order, because even after we have the order, we can give them time, right?
yes.
But it's just, if we give them time now, and if they don't comply, then we have to start the legal action, and then I'd rather just get all the time periods running now, get the order.
What time period are you talking for the legal action?
Well, so it kind of depends. If, like for the other 2 properties, then nobody responded and they were all served. So I'm assuming that they're probably not going to resist anything. So I'm gonna, with the city's approval, I would seek title to the other property addresses of 703 West Franklin and 607 West Walnut. So in order for me to get title to the city, I have to give 60 days notice to anybody that has an interest in the property. And then I can get title to the properties. On the other one, since he responded to the letter, I'm assuming that he's gonna respond to the court case, which will delay it. 3 months, maybe, 4 months.
I'd move forward with everything on all of them, I think.
I see.
I should say, I just happen to recognize the name, that, our bank has a mortgage in one of these properties, so I should abstain and probably any more discussion.
So if that's the case, I was gonna say you could take all 3 and do a motion to approve.
That's fine with me, yeah.
Okay, so you could do a motion to approve moving forward with court action on all 3 of them. But if you do a motion of all 3, then obviously he's gonna be abstaining completely, or you could take them individual, doesn't matter to me. Either way is fine.
I'll just abstain, you can do them all together.
I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Mayor, I just had one question, and that relates to when you talked about the city obtains title to the properties, fee simple title
Yes.
on these ones.
Yeah.
That's my question. Right, thank you, Mayor.
And
So after the city has title, they can either, bid out the property to somebody that is going to clean it up. Or they can keep it and demolish it at their cost, then sell it, or they could just keep it. And sometimes cities do, I don't know where these are exactly located at, but sometimes cities do parks in them, those kinds of things. I don't know where they're located, so that may not make any sense whatsoever, but.
are you ready for a motion, Dan?
I was reading this letter,
Mhm.
207 or 209,
209. His letter or my letter?
his letter.
Okay.
Does it say wish to negotiate the extension at,
He wishes to negotiate, what I can read is he wishes to negotiate the extension of November 10th, 2019. So
oh, is that what
I
he
think he
got the
meant he
letter?
wants no, I think he wanted an extension until November 10th, but obviously
Let's hear.
that date is passed.
I thought maybe he was wanting to come to the meeting and talk. that's passed.
I did try to call him as well, and I did not get a call back after he called me.
Yeah, I'm ready for a motion.
I move we proceed on all three properties. Whatever legal term that is to proceed with that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approve resolution of the city of Bloomfield for rejection of bid for 2020 asphalt project.
This is just because the bid was higher than the estimate.
This is because we really kind of changed the whole focus.
Got it.
I've talked to Larry a couple times this week. They kind of got a new, I think he sent out an email to, if it went to everybody or not, but, they kind of they was here Tuesday, drove a bunch of streets, and kind of have a new plan. I think they plan on probably presenting that at the next council meeting, along with a redesign of the sewer project at Franklin. We met with Jeremy also on Tuesday, and they changed it a little bit more to accommodate more houses and to get more of it to get everything in our right of way. It's a little more, it's gonna cost a little more to do that, but then that section of town should pretty well be wrapped up.
Okay.
This is just formality that we need to reject this bid through the resolution, since we made a resolution to accept it, or we never really accepted it, we just have to reject, we have to formally reject it.
So moved.
Second.
Scott,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Approved purchase of omni-side alarms for all F stations from Electric Pump in the amount of $6,843.
Assume this is something that'll go off if they don't turn on.
It's a call system, I think it actually calls whoever's on call from the sewer. It'll call Jeremy or Lane or whoever's on call taking care of the sewer portion of it. Notifies them which one it is. I think that's what this is for.
No work at the power goes out.
Yeah, there's a thing in claims that's fixed all the generators for when the power goes out, they take over, but yes, it does call them I think if it goes to generator power, if they get full, like when we have a lot of rain, sometimes they'll fill faster than they can pump out, and it gets them to where they can. I believe that's what this is for. I think it's something we've had in the past. Isn't this just a? I was thinking this is something we had in the past, and this was just a
Renewal of that.
well, it says replacement of XR50 for end of life units, so
Yeah.
I think this is something we've had. I think it's the contract's run out, I'm guessing. Motion to approve,
Move to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discuss and approve payment to Simple Ray LLC for $20,788.78.
the staff summary explains what this is.
I read this as they basically are saying, we're not entitled to payment, let's send an invoice and see if the city will pay it.
That's the impression I had from Chris, yes.
I'm not in favor of paying it.
It looks to me like they had to replace some equipment. But that's their obligation, the way I understand it. So,
Sandy, not to speak out of turn, but Sandy, you know, we talked about this. One of the larger cost components is just mileage. And I know that's hard to lock down in granite, how many times they were here, but that's pretty extensive.
I move if we reject the invoice and do not pay it.
Mayor, just one question, do we maybe want to, I agree with the sentiment of the council, do we maybe want to table this for the time being? Find out more about, I guess, the reason justification? And saying if we reject it, that brings it to an end, I'm not paying it either, but.
My thought is if they wanna come to the meeting and explain it, then we can reconsider.
I say we reject it and then they can resubmit and bring it in person and talk about it.
Okay, I understand.
I'd second the motion for rejecting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approve a resolution of the city of Bloomfield establishing a 15% pay increase for deputy clerk to compensate for additional duties assigned due to staffing shortages.
Mr. Mayor, this was a staff summary that I put together. I believe this has been done previously, but as you know, with the departure of the finance manager, that's one of the items on the agenda tonight to talk about the job description for that. In that absence, Sandy, her capacity is taking on additional responsibilities. Some of them are listed here. I won't go through all of them, verse and script of general ledger. Certainly, we're getting into the budget season right now. I'll mention that during my report anyway, just to give you a brief update on that. It does require an extensive amount of work on her part, and I believe this is a practice that has been utilized previously. To that extent, I would recommend the council that 15% pay raise go in effect at such time. And the language I had was until such time as the council hires a full-time person.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second. Darren,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Approve DPW job description.
Mr. Mayor, this was an item the council asked me to look into, quite frankly, probably about a month ago, actually, as it relates to the fact that Dan Simonson was separated from employment in the city. I took the existing job description, I added a couple of items in here. One you will see under administrative direction of the mayor, city council, and city administrator. I think, as you well know, the city administrator can make recommendations to council that ultimately council has to confirm or deny. So that language, I think, was put in, quite frankly, appropriately. I added a line on the city administrator, community development director, working together. The last item, as I recall, Mayor and Council, is on the very bottom before you see essential job functions, and that is director shall reside within the city limits. I know, Mayor, that was an item you and I talked a little bit about, so you may want to, add some additional context to
I
that.
kind of thought about that a little bit more, and I'd like to put a range. 10 miles, 10 minutes, something to where they, if they wanted to, they could live in a small area outside of town. I don't want them in a different state.
Right.
I don't want them in a different county. I want them to live in Davis County and be a part of our community, but I really hate to pinpoint them. I've talked to some other businesses, REC, or Southern Iowa Electric, they do a 12-mile radius, just kind of geographical. And somebody in that function is probably an outdoors person, so, they may not want to find in town, so.
12 miles, they can respond.
And 12 miles is so I'd like to change, if council is okay with it, I think I would like to have that changed to 10 miles.
Mayor, so in terms of that 10.
But within the county.
Okay,
Within Davis County, no more than 10 miles is what, I guess is kind of how I'd like to have it worded.
Can we put a upon hire date,
And then, yeah, and
3 months?
And I think that needs to be, I don't know if that needs to be in the job description, but in the application portion of it, I think I'd give them 6 months to get to that.
The only
To
question.
give them 6 months to get, or I know Southern Iowa Electric ran into an issue where people had just bought a place and they got hired, and so it took them some time. You know, if that runs into that situation, I mean, if they wanna come to us and ask and talk about, maybe a little more time, but I think we do need to pinpoint.
They're 10.5 miles.
Well, I think we need to have, we could work with somebody on some of that, but I think we need to have something definite.
Is it really 12?
Well, I don't mean miles, I mean, if they can't get their property sold or, or something like that, to move here in the 6 months, but I think we need to have some kind of a stipulation.
well, Mayor, we can certainly put that in, or if council wants, if you want, options anyway, whether it's that 10 or 12 mile. Because I want to be sensitive to the fact that if you draw that concentric circle, that you're going to be encompassing, obviously the city, but also Davis County. And the other item, and maybe this is, a little too digging into the weeds, but at what point do you drop the dot and begin, use the downtown, where do we put that exactly?
The dot will be the courthouse. That's the county seat.
Well, the way it's drafted, it's within city limits, so if you're within 10 miles of the limits of the city, and that seems to me our
That's
city's
true.
not that big.
Right.
The only question I have is, don't we have to use, if we're gonna have a restriction, don't we have to use the miles? I don't think we can do the miles and like within the county, because I thought the justification for the miles was it's a position where they needed to respond
Pretty quickly, yeah.
quickly. I just wanna verify that we can do, I'm in
Here's the
favor.
only reason, you can get to Missouri in less than 10 miles.
But I think that would be my concern, is legally if we can do that. You see, because the only reason, my understanding was the only reason we could limit was because of the response time. So if you can go,
Savannah'd be right at it, wouldn't it?
if you can go 10 miles west and that's enough response time, why wouldn't 10 miles south into Missouri?
I would say that's what I was just
Yeah,
talking
but-
about, I think you could get to Missouri, and I don't know how you would.
I don't think you can get to Missouri in 10 miles. You can get south of Savannah, but not to the Missouri line.
I don't know.
I'd have to go out, drive it to see.
Miles to where I used to live down there.
And I wonder if in that case, are we better off just to say must reside within Davis County?
I would say that would make more sense, and that way, because then you know exactly where it's at.
Wheeler Ridge is further out.
I want to interrupt the mayor's point, though. I recall when I was in Hannibal, Missouri, as an example, we were very close. We're right next to Illinois. We had firemen actually that lived in Quincy. Just from the optics of it, I think it would look a little bit better had it in state or something.
I guess my thought behind all this is, they're working in Davis County or in the city of Bloomfield, getting paid by the taxpayers that live here.
Mm-hmm.
They should live here and be given back to the community, and you're more vested in your community and care more if you're here.
So is the cleanest way to do that, just say Davis County?
Well, like Earl said.
Well, yeah, you can live on,
quite a ways.
Wheeler Ridge or almost Blacksburg
In
and
20 miles.
not even be able to get here.
Yeah, 'cause it's 15 miles and you're stopping around.
It's 15 miles to Lake Wapello, and you can go another.
15 minutes and within Davis County.
It's 15
15
miles to Lake
minutes.
Wapello, and you can go another 10 miles pretty easy. I say we just do 10 miles.
I went to 10 miles.
It works for me.
Within 90 days of start, is that what you said?
I would. Days and out, yeah.
I think most mortgages could get closed by then, couldn't they?
Oh,
Well, Mayor, to that point, then I'll work up another draft and I'll have you.
Well, basically, we'll approve it with them changes in it tonight so we can get it
Okay,
The only other question,
out.
the only other question I had was on the reports too, and maybe this is getting too detailed. Is it, I get the administrative direction part, but is it feasible to have someone report to the city council? Just from the standpoint of, there's 5 members of the city council, and do you end up in a position where there's a 3-2 vote on something, or you have one member of the city council telling the DPW what to do and someone else telling them something different? Are we opening ourselves up to that kind of, or should it be they report to the individuals like the mayor and the city administrator, or the city administrator, and then the city administrator reports to the council?
And it's basically set up for absentees. It's still chain of command. The DPW reports directly to the city administrator, which reports to the mayor and council, but in the absence of city administrator, you've got the other.
Because they're still gonna be showing up before the council, so it's still said
Yeah.
reporting to them. Doesn't mean they have to go check with each,
Might be splitting hairs too
Person.
much. Cause they come here and report to the council.
yeah,
you're
that's what
right.
I took it to mean, but then,
Mayor, to your point, you essentially have administrative direction. I think that's benign enough in the past. If you had, have this be more real world, if you had a definitive organizational chart that said you had to go, but again, it comes back to the fact that when that person is employed then, this goes back to the employment part, they identify someone, they still have to go to city council to get them approved, but it's administrative direction. This just me, I don't see that violating any chain of command.
Yeah, the administrative direction, I'm talking, what caught my eye was just more, and maybe it's too detailed,
Right.
my concern was, are you gonna have a council member going in trying to tell the DPW what to do?
Well,
And then another one, and then pulled in multiple directions. And again, maybe I'm overthinking it, but that was just my,
and that maybe could, that was language I put in there.
but I see the mayor's point of if we don't have a city administrator,
It falls back to us anyway.
I got it, that makes sense.
If you got multiple people out of town, you need something, then at least you can, you've got the direction to go to a council member or something.
So I wrote the language down, you want me to, are we ready for the motion?
Yeah, we just need a motion that takes out residing within city limits, changing to no more than 10 miles.
I move that we approve job description for the Director of Public Works as presented, subject to changing the residency requirements to read, the director within 90 days of start shall reside within 10 miles of the city limits and be available for off-hour emergencies, with the remainder of that to be unchanged.
Second.
All in favor?
alright,
Opposed. Approved finance manager job description.
Mr. Mayor, this is another job description I went into. I just made a couple of quick augmentations that I just added some reports. I know there's a difference between a finance manager and a finance director, but you see the language I have, prepares and directs city annual financial report, oversees assistants, independent auditors. These are, particularly number 5 was one that I felt strongly about, prepares financial statements and cost reports at regular intervals. I just add some additional reporting requirements. That's up to council to just to confirm or deny.
So Andy, would that include, like, if we got a big project, we got the big sewer project coming up? Would this individual keep track of where we are on our spend?
That's correct.
Present it to the council?
Right. That's correct. Particularly when in council, even depending on the time and scope of it, council wants an update a quarter of the way through the project. You're exactly right. That they would need to do it before. I could, it just makes better sense to have that finance manager come and speak.
Can we put that at regular intervals of
large projects or?
I can put in something about, say, project updates or something such as that, if you want language in there that says.
Well, I mean, if you're gone, then the next person kind of know what they were supposed to be doing.
Right.
Can you just put like monthly behind that in parentheses or something, just as an indication? That's how often, I mean,
You could, my only question on the monthly part is, you put that in there and it may be applicable at times, it may be applicable during the budget season, may not be applicable during. I think, Councilman, your suggestion, I think, is well taken, insofar as that you're setting forth the fact that they have to provide timely reports to city council. In addition to that, although it's not locked down in granite, but as an example, if we're working on a particular project that involves financing from exterior sources, down like wastewater treatment plant, you have that state revolving loan fund. That is the essential component for it. A finance director could offer perspective. The manager could also offer perspective as to where we are in the timing of it. We can include that in language. I think the rest of it is pretty benign.
Are you talking about number 5?
Yeah, I think it'd be good for the community too, that I'm thinking of the meter project. I know it seemed like it was constantly approving more and more meters, but nobody knew where was we at on our total spend. Have we gone over? I mean.
Would it be too vague to put as directed?
Is that a cost report? Or is
I
that-
would call, a project cost.
Like a progress or a cost report.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And maybe they gotta go to the DPW or to the city administrator to find out exactly, gather the information, but
do we put,
that's stuff that I'd like to see.
Would it be too vague if you put regular reports at regular intervals as directed by administrator and council?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think you could just say at regular intervals as directed.
Yeah. As directed.
That leaves it open.
There you go.
Makes sense.
That's all I had. Thank you, Mayor.
anybody else got anything on that?
We would approve the financial manager's job description with mentioned change in wording.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Discuss and take action on interim DPW position.
Mayor, I know we talked about this earlier today. I think Earl asked for it to be put on the agenda. I'll just say my concern, it could be, it likely is that I was late to the last staff meeting and missed the discussion, but as I said earlier, I think the two things I just think we need to make sure we have our eye on are making sure that the streets are ready to go to bid in time to get the work started. And it sounds like that's on pace, and then making sure that the electrical infrastructure is shored up. But then obviously, we approved the job description for the permanent, so I don't know if it makes sense to get an interim in if we're gonna have a permanent one in place in 30 days. And I don't have the technical expertise to know, are we at the time of year that there's a lot going on? But that, from my perspective, that was, again, part of that's on me because I've been kind of out of pocket and was late to the last meeting. So that was my interest. I don't know if anyone else has any.
So the job description we just approved, we're gonna put out.
Immediately.
As soon as you all tell me.
How long do you think it'll take to fill that?
Next week, I mean, we put it in the paper.
Tomorrow have it ready. Tomorrow, we're not gonna have someone standing at the door. That's something we got.
No, I mean, tomorrow put out for hire.
Well, and that's another question, just kind of thinking out loud on this one, but we would want to, of course, advertise it locally, but the the acronym escapes me right now, the Iowa Public Utilities.
IAMU.
It would be good to put it, through them.
League of Cities.
League of
Iowa League of
Cities.
Cities is another entity we can certainly
You send it to
identify.
me, I can get it posted tomorrow.
They got a good-looking woman that works in their communications department.
They can get stuff done pretty quick.
I'm not prepared to make a statement on that. I'm sure that's well taken. We'll take that up later.
You're gonna have to abstain.
Yeah, I am abstaining. But that is something we can start getting at.
So what's common practice? How long do you keep a job bid open then?
Well, Counselor, for one item, and I think it's well taken, it was pointed out previously, that, I don't know if there was a good season or a bad season, quite frankly, for advertising for this. I mean, you wouldn't advertise for a pool manager in December, but you had a larger facility. I hope we get, some viable candidates. I think I share it with the mayor. I'll just, cut to the chase here. Because, he and I had a friendly disagreement early on about whether to appoint the interim or whether or not to appoint seek a person outright, have people apply for it. It was a little crazy, I would say, that first week or so. It has calmed down, I would say, considerably from what I've seen anyway, in terms of other activity, in terms of us coming and asking us questions about, what needs to be approved on KISS flow, or am I gonna have time off, or items such as that. This is just me, I'm in favor of advertising for the position. My only thought would be that we could just move on as quickly as possible. I would not want to just wait like 30 days or more. That's just my 2 cents worth.
Here's my 2 cents worth.
I think we put it out for 30 days, see what we get for candidates. If we don't get any viable candidates, we hire an interim. And we talk to Brent Henson, we go for 60 days. At that point, we look at trying to get some professional help to fill the position. I think we should try it on our own to try to save. This is a slow time of year. The sewer project's supposed to be wrapped up this week. The water project's supposed to be wrapped up by the end of the month. We've got the electrical issue is taken care of, it's fixed, it's back on like it was before. They got the wire in terminated without any more shutdowns.
So we're stabilized.
We're stabilized. The solar field is back on
Okay.
100% like it was before, so we're not paying for something we're not getting no more. The electric issue.
That's a great update.
The electric, I just got it yesterday.
Okay.
And I called Andy and said, hey, put something together, let's get it out. And it was late last night when I got to my room, and I just told him I'll just give the report today. So the electric is back to normal. I've talked with Todd on getting help from the electric department now to help him with the gas stuff. And he was willing to take that on and help them get theirs done so he could help him get his stuff done. And I've talked to Mark's got everything in order. Salt, sand wise, we're good. We've got all the trucks are up and running. Adam's got all the snow plowing equipment fixed and ready to go. I think at this point, I think we've got the 30 days to go out and hopefully have somebody in place by January, either the 1st of January, January 15th would be my deadline to have somebody in that chair.
I can live with that.
And if not, we'll hire, we can look at getting an interim in to take that. If this was March or April, we would already have somebody. I've talked to Larry Stevens quite a bit on the streets thing. I think they've got a good handle on that. The sewer plant is what it is. I don't think a DPW would, I don't think there's much there at this point for that to work on. The financing, I think's getting wrapped up, which is about the end of that project to get it started. The bridge is about done. We're just kind of in the snow season. Mark's been patching streets and getting some of that done on Jefferson, where they're gonna open it here towards the end of the week. So I think everything right now is in a pretty good position. I think we've got the time to do it. And like I said, if something comes up or something, I have no problem with trying to get somebody to put in there. I think with everything moving the way it is right now, I think I'd like to just see if we can get it filled by January 15th, and if not, we'll do an interim at that time.
Do you feel like that's?
That, in my opinion, I think that's entirely reasonable.
Can everybody live with that?
And we've set a timeline.
Yeah.
And so now we have a timeline. I can live with that.
Just perfect
Jack,
the
you
job description a little bit more.
So, so should we, that Brent Henson, should we go ahead and contact him? I mean, is that is that an avenue we should?
I would defer to the mayor,
now?
but my answer would be no, not
Okay,
yet.
that's fine. I mean, I didn't wanna go out 30 days and say, oh, now let's,
Remember,
reach out to Brent.
my only
We just
reason
wasted 30
justification
days.
on that, and Brent may have some other, quite frankly, avenues for us to pursue, but I may be mistaken, but he largely does administrative positions. I don't know whether he would do this. Again, he's a good person, but he costs money.
No, that's fine, I know, but we don't wanna wait an extra 30 days to leave.
You're right. I like the mayor's suggestion.
I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and yeah, that's kind of the feeling I got from him. If we wanted assistance in it, I think he would help us,
Okay.
but it's really not. He's more on the administrator side of it. So, we got a deadline. If the chair ain't filled by January 1st, we'll start looking for an interim unless we think it's gonna be done by the 15th, and we'll get somebody in there to because we're budget time and stuff's gonna start getting busy. We're gonna have other things, but right now, I mean, like Andy said, he was overwhelmed the first week and I was overwhelmed the first week, but I think everybody's started meshing and working together, and it's been a lot. And I think the guys are doing a good job working together and getting done what needs to be done. And I do want to give kudos to the electric department for the two guys getting that done and getting it put back together and doing it without an outage. It shows the experience that we have in that department, because that's not easy work, and it's not something everybody can do, and that we've got the equipment and the ability to do that without having another outage. I was really surprised when he called me yesterday and told me he had it done, but.
Yeah, I got that call this afternoon, I was very happy.
So that was a big step, in getting that back on, so.
Mayor, may I make a comment? This is just from an observation from an outside department. I just stopped down, sit down at the garage the other day and asked Adam a quick question. And the morale and just the general atmosphere has made 180-degree turns down there. You don't feel the tension when you walk in there to ask somebody a question. The guys are starting to feel like themselves again, and feel like they're being allowed to do their jobs they were trained on, jobs they were hired to do. And it's a whole different atmosphere down there in that garage area with the guys working.
I think if I got class tomorrow, I'll probably try to swing down there. I just want to talk to Todd again and make sure that he's getting the help he needs, because it's gonna be nice again next week. And our gas department is probably the furthest behind. Todd does a good job and, trying to get him the help that he needs from the other gas people that we have certified to get his work caught up or closer to being caught up. But other than that, I think everything is running pretty smooth.
Well, I appreciate the discussion, it's a good one to have.
It's good.
To make sure that.
Good discussion.
Glad we can bring so many positive things that the guys have been getting done, that everybody has been concerned about. I mean, citywide too. I know everybody's been talking about it, but hopefully we got everything fixed up and good to go for a while.
I'd like to keep my street closed. I'll finish the bridge, but I'd like to keep the street closed.
Don't have to worry about backing out now.
Oh, the traffic's so much nicer.
All right, so is any more discussion on the DPW? We've got a plan.
Scott raised a good question on the finance manager. It's the same deal there. We need to get that deal posted just quickly.
We can move on that one, resolution.
Yes.
I'm good.
And then we got the gas job posted.
Haven't been told to do it yet.
Can we post it Monday and, well, shoot, next week's a short week. Let's post it the first week of December. That's a 5 year. I've had a couple people show interest in that, not from interior, not in-house, show interest in the issues. All right, on to the approved communication policy.
Mr. Mayor, this was one that, a topic that came up, I believe, at one of my first council meetings. So what I did was put together a resolution. A resolution that sets forth our communications policy. I will tell you, the initial one I had from some other communities was 6 pages minus 1. So if you want to add or subtract to that, feel free to do so. But I believe it's fairly straightforward insofar as I list some items in here that council and staff probably need to be a little more progressive on, and that's providing project updates, a website and social media posts, and then finally guidelines for the communications that we have with folks that are outside the city hall. If there's anything you want to, as I said, add to that, let me know. I did try and shorten it.
Have you seen this?
Is that what you emailed me before? Or is there changes to this one?
I don't believe I sent this one, this was one, I'll be happy to make sure that you receive it, but I took it off an existing one that we had in another city.
I'd want to make sure that Heather or Gayla
Sure.
approve, because I know from personal experience and looking at these in the private sector that you get a Fair Labor Standards Act or National Labor Relations Act.
When you get into some of that stuff, this is over.
And we can't limit their ability to speak on behalf of the city, but if you word it wrong, then you're.
A lot of the components, come to that point, more, staff members should not be providing speculation or gossip.
On behalf of the city.
They should, you're right, that's clear.
But there's,
If Heather wants to, I think that makes perfect sense.
I think if everybody's okay with it, we can go ahead and
Approve
approve a pending legal counsel.
Sure.
If they've got some changes, then we'll bring it back and approve it with the changes. But if everybody's okay with it the way it is, and if they approve it, then we get it out of the way. Otherwise, if there's any changes, we'll have to bring it back.
Well, just so it's clear though, I mean, it won't be effective, that means it's not gonna be
Until
effective until, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be changes. I'm sure they'll add something.
Well, let's just table it till the next meeting and bring back, Gail will be here, just bring the revised version back to approve at the next meeting. Does that work? Approved demolition inspection form.
Mr. Mayor, this is another item that you and I had spent some time talking about, so I will, well, let me first of all back up on this one, and that is, council members have at times, and maybe other outside staff have done, the inspections on a particular lot that has been cleared. We just talked about the one on West Franklin Street, and some items they should look for. So what I did was, as I said, went to a couple different cities and put together 2 categories, one prior to demolition, items that must be addressed. And the second one, the demolition inspection. I'm not going to read through all of these versus scripture, but the items listed below, fairly boilerplate. But as I said, the mayor asked me to put something together. Again, I believe some in the past council members have done this. Whether or not this will be utilized by the folks that are actually doing code enforcement, I think may be a conversation for another day. This one, my takeaway, Mayor, was addressing the more specific use, and that would be when you have council members or staff that's doing some of these inspections.
I think the only other thing that needs to be on here is to make sure that on the demolition inspection that we have a form or the copy of the contract that the contractor mid portion of his contract to make sure that everything on all obligations on his contract are done. Because like the tree removals and some stuff, there's, at times, once in a while, we'll add something or change something. I think we need to make sure that everything's completed.
What if it's not a contractor doing the demolition? What if it's a self-demolition?
Well,
Are you talking about are we talking about demolition for the city or just anyone, like a private residence being done?
this kind of fits them all.
It really, at that point, you're right, Counselor, it really fits them all. That's the conversation Mayor and I had, was fitting all that one.
I'm just wondering for any loopholes in this, like when I tore my house down and started building, do I?
See, on that, I don't think the
Need this?
city, on that, even if there's a contract, the city doesn't really have a role in that.
Yeah, because there's gotta be a permit pulled to do it. So once.
Well, yeah, so that would like having the permit pulled, but I'm like, it's not really, like, let's say you contracted to have your building demolished and it landscaped to a certain, there's just minimum standards we wanna make sure they follow. The rest of the contract, we don't really care about, but if it's a city job, yeah, we want them.
I mean, I should have been more specific. This is, it's not individual, it is specific to the city contract for the folks to remove.
Okay, then we should have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's why I just want to clarify that this was.
Yeah, those are ones that are direction.
What do you call it, bid specification?
So then all that permit stuff needs to come out. If this is
What's
basically
our card for all?
clear at the top, if this is for city-owned property, like the houses that we just demoed, this is the inspection process for them, right? Or is this,
Well, it's a good point, and that's a kind of a variation theme here, because remember, what we're talking about in this one, if I'm mistaken, is when you have, I'm not saying private individuals, you have council members or staff that's doing it, only because we don't have the numbers to do more of these.
but what I'm saying is if I have an old house and I get a permit to tear it down,
Mhm.
is somebody gonna break this sheet over and look at it when it's done?
No, what we're talking about are those lots that we have a responsibility to, if the owner walks away from them or just leaves them in a bad condition.
So I think that's.
So like derelict properties and stuff like that that we acquire, this is the form that we're gonna use to check off so the contractor can get paid. Is that right?
Well, you could, although more specifically, and you may want to weigh on this as well, and what we're talking about, I'll just cut to the chase. In Ottumwa as an example, when we had to go in and remove a house, all right, there was a checkoff list that went through the planning department. And there was probably a little bit more extensive than that. That was when we had to contract with someone to go in and quite frankly, and do the work for us. If someone does that individually, they hire a contractor, it's a little different.
So like when we hired Tim Skinner to tear, did he have to get a permit to do that?
That's pre-me in terms of the permit. I know that afterwards, as I recall, Mary, the discussion was when he's done with his work, as you emphasized with me, do we have something that says we're satisfied with it? And that's really what it was.
I guess what I'm getting at is an approved demolition permit is required before a structure can be demolished within the city limits of Bloomfield. That's true,
Right.
but not for us.
I would just take out that, what about just taking out those two sentences and just saying demolition inspection form and just starting with prior demolition being issued, blank.
Yeah, that top, and then
Okay.
2.5 sentences just needs to come out, anything talking about permits, because
I mean, do you wanna add something at the bottom about demolition inspection that the bid specifications have been fulfilled?
yeah,
So we take out the first two.
fulfill bid specifications.
Or you could put it.
Because like the one had that asbestos removal we had to do, I mean, there's a specific, we have to get that information and specific
Have it on
stuff
file.
from the asbestos people. And that's part of the bid packet and the bid specs, so that needs, we need to make sure that we have that.
So if I understand this right, Mayor and Heather, I want you to weigh in on this. We would remove the top paragraph under demolition inspection form and approved demolition permit, that we would remove that, correct? We would begin with what, just the language prior to,
Yep.
demolition and then demolition inspection.
Yeah, cause it's just really for internal city
And
use,
then we-
right? I mean, it's because it doesn't apply to anybody else other than the city property.
Then we're gonna add a bullet point on, at the end of demolition inspection that says bid specifications.
Right.
fulfilled.
I'll clean that up and have you, I'll have you look at it.
Do we wanna approve it now, subject to those changes, and it doesn't have to come back?
We're bringing another one back to next meeting.
Okay. We'll just bring it back with them, but I think that'll.
Give me a copy, just email me.
Claims.
Something wrong with the agenda. It's short.
Yeah, there's nothing on the back.
Nothing on the back.
I'm tired, it's not three
Don't
pager.
complain.
And there's no 8 closed sessions.
Just put something on it, just fine.
I don't know, I was just pointing out to Andy that the library utilities, there's a lot of houses way higher than that. $519.67 for this building. That sounds cheap.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comments? You guys learning anything?
Stay away.
Huh? Was it different than you thought it would be?
Yes.
Kinda
Way more
interesting.
exciting, isn't it?
Something for you to talk about at school,
I'm not giving you the number of that good-looking girl that works
Maybe.
here. I didn't you that. Don't ask.
No. Maybe you want someone.
Yeah, but we don't need any more tonight.
All right. I'm paying for the excuse.
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Next time, just raise your hand.
Gross up.
Andy,
Yeah, Mayor, just 2 items I'm gonna mention very briefly, and one is, you and I talked about this earlier in the week, the sponsored project that the city achieved. I'm not sure if that was in the spring of this year or not, but that the sponsored project that the city put together, and there was discussion then about permeable pavers. I quite frankly, there was enough representation with HR Green, I really couldn't afford to be gone the entire day to go to that conference, although I'm sure I'll touch base with Isaac on that. But in and of itself, the takeaway I had visiting with him, and Larry Stevens said this as well, it would likely be a permeable paver project is what he said would be the best complement to the program I already undertook. And he identified some sites. I don't know whether that commission or board has a say in it. There was talk about something up and around the high school or the school campus or something. I don't know the intricacies of that. That's just based on a phone call that he and I had. I'll follow up then as to what came from that meeting. The last item, the second last item on the list is the budget documents. Sandy's done a very good job of getting those out to the department heads. The department heads, unlike in previous times, where we put in, or administration put in the budgeted item, we had the department heads do their best justification for putting in prices for the various and sundry projects they have. I think those are all, at this point, all of them are turned in, I believe. Right, we had 3 copies. But those have been turned in, and then starting next week, I think And if I remember certainly correct, I think we're gonna, is it on Tuesday we'll start having? We've got budget meetings set up with the individual department heads to go over their budgets. That's all I have.
Council updates?
I know the training is in Tacoma on Monday or Saturday. Anybody planning on going to that? I know Jake's going, but I didn't know that's going on budgets and that. It escapes me right at the moment. But put on by the League of Cities.
You said Monday?
Sandy offered, but I can't, I've got a birthday.
When is it, Monday?
No, it's
It's
Saturday.
Saturday.
It's
Saturday.
the same one that you guys went to. when you first went through that.
It's from 10 to 2. Then you get lunch. So,
We had to go to Fairfield though.
Yeah.
On a weeknight.
Yeah.
Jack and I have been a couple of times.
I think I've done give all mine
Okay,
when we was talking about DPW.
good
I
job.
think I threw it all out there that I had.
Do we still want to continue to wait on community development director till we hire a full-time administrator, or do we wanna consider moving ahead with that? It's a food for thought.
Again, this is, this conversation the mayor and I had, you got the money, certainly in the budget. I don't know when was it that Chris Ball, that was that earlier this year?
1st of August.
Okay. I would be an advocate for filling that. There's a number of responsibilities in it.
I know we talked, that Main Street presentation and I don't know, I guess I'm kind of torn because I see an opportunity that maybe, because I don't want to, on the one hand, I don't want to lock a future city administrator into a certain structure. If there's, it's kind of like, when you get, when a team gets rid of their football coach and their GM, you usually hire the GM first, let him pick the coach. See that side of it, but then I also see like some of these meetings and I don't want to lose ground.
To your point, it would be beneficial, but to be clear, but if the name comes up, I'm gonna recommend that to council, and then you guys confirm or deny. But in my humble opinion, I would like to see us move on it. Our fund balance in the general fund is a lot healthier than other cities I've been in previously, so we've got the money.
Just food for thought, since it's one of the items.
We can talk about it next meeting.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That makes sense.
Because it might take a while to find one of those too.
Anything else?
To adjourn?
I'll entertain that motion.
Move to adjourn. Or if he made that,
I made it.
second it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Harold, you need to take your sign.
I should have went sign, but it's that front row.
He usually sits back and outside,